Thank you for joining us today for Zixi and XL8. Let's give our attendees a little bit of time to join, and then we will get started. So please be patient with us for another minute or so, and then we will get started with our presentation. This is going to be recorded and sent out, excuse me, to all attendees and registrants at the end. So please be sure that if you miss anything while we're going along, you'll be able to see it in the replay. Also, please put any questions in the bottom the Q&A tab, and we will get to those at the end of the presentation. If there are any questions that we cannot get to, we have your name and email address, and the appropriate person from XL8 or Zixi will reach out to you with an answer to your specific question. So again, any questions, put them into the Q&A tab, and we will get them at the end. We've still got a few people joining, so let's give it another minute or so, and then we will get started. All right, I think the numbers are starting to slow down, so we can get started today with Zixi and XL8, live speech to text and translation. This is a recent partnership and integration between the two companies. Next slide. Our speakers today are going to be me, John Weskett. I run the business development and marketing groups at Zixi. I'm being joined by Harjinder Sandhu, our director of product marketing, and a special guest from XL8, John Butterworth, who is the vice president of sales engineering, who is going to present and demo from the XL8 side. Today, we're going to talk just a little bit about Zixi. We're going to go into depth about XL8, who their company is, what their technology does, and then get a live demonstration of the technology working together. And then we will take your questions at the end. So another reminder, please put any questions into the Q&A tab at the bottom, and we will respond to them at the end. So next slide. Why is the XL8 live speech to text translation and Zixi integration important? It creates real-time subtitles that are powered by AI, delivering unparalleled translation accuracy based on XL8's proprietary translation algorithms that they have trained on live media content so that you know it's reliable. The integration with Zixi enables XL8 users to offer live broadcasts in 25 languages to customers in 120 countries that feed content natively into the XL8 translation engine from anywhere in the world using Zixi and the Zixi Zen Master control plane. And we'll talk more in detail about that as we go. Next, Harjinder is going to give us a brief 5-minute overview of Zixi before we turn over to John Butterworth for the majority of the presentation about XL8 and how Zixi has been integrated. So Harj, you want to give us a few minutes?
Yes, thank you, John. Good morning, everyone. And yeah, thank you very much for joining today. Let's recap quickly. I know most of the folks joining are familiar with Zixi. Zixi is used by pretty much everybody in the media space. That could be traditional broadcasters, large media companies, broadcasters, content creators, to essentially manage and deliver live content or 24/7 linear channels across any type of IP network, across many different protocols, including the Zixi protocol, over any cloud provider and utilizing any of the edge devices. So essentially moving content across IP, Zixi is the answer. And let's deep dive a little bit into what makes Zixi. So Zixi, the main thing now is it is ultra scalable platform that is contributing and distributing today thousands of streams across the globe. That makes it the global Zixi enabled network. This is facilitating, this is powered by 15 years of experience and innovation. This is not something new that is being experimented today. Zixi has the expertise and the innovation of all the patented technologies that it has in its arsenal that are required to deliver content over IP networks reliably. And in doing so, it is able to reduce the cost of your content delivery, whether it is traditional means, which is satellite or fiber, or even other industry options within the IP space. Your cost is reduced by 50 to 75%. And that you're going to hear a lot from us, because that is very important. And it is eliminating the risk because it is bringing in that expertise, and it is making it future-proof by supporting all the different protocols that are available. That makes it a safe choice, and it is easy to implement. Again, developed by years of expertise, it is at a point where it is easy to implement, it is ultra scalable, and it comes at a very cost-effective option. So let's look at the protocol itself and how it compares. Number one, it is very sustainable and cost effective. And how do we come to those terms? We require on average 50% less bandwidth and 60% less compute. And that's over x86 compute systems. On ARM based, it is even more efficient, while being 10% on port efficiencies. That results in saving on egress costs of 50%. And you can ask us more on how we make claims on these numbers, but these are tested and proven numbers. And that means if you look at reducing your overall egress costs over 50 to 75% over industry options, and makes it a very straightforward choice. That is why Zixi and Zixi enabled network has been adopted by 1,000+ media customers, 400+ partners, that is able to deliver 100,000 live events in 100 countries and over 20,000 live linear channels. And Zixi is much more than a protocol. It is an patented, award-winning protocol. However, it is comprised of much more than that. It is a modular architecture that comprises of ingest platform, processing, monitoring and analysis, and the most important, control plane and orchestration. And these are some of the brand names that go with that. Zen Master is a control and orchestration layer, IDP being the monitoring and analysis layer. Zixi Edge Compute lives on the edge to ingest and receive content, and Zixi Broadcaster with live transcoding sits in the middle. And that brings us to the conclusion of what is the Zixi factor. So Zixi enabled network, which again, like I said, comprises of the largest global ecosystem to distribute and ingest content anywhere in the world. orchestrate that content across all different systems and components. That is very crucial when you're delivering content over cloud and IP networks. You need a unified orchestration layer that ties everything together, gives you the visibility you need, and allow you to scale. There are, again, many options from point-to-point stuff, but when it comes to scaling your delivery, your IP networks, Zixi is the only choice. And doing so cost effectively, bringing that egress cost down to 50%, platform is essentially paying for itself. And we do that by compressing null packets and many other techniques that are patented that allow us to do bring that cost-effective delivery to your system, and doing so sustainably. Again, bringing that compute cost down, compute requirements down, supporting ARM-based processors. That is helping us move closer to our zero net emissions goal and significantly reduce your processing costs. So that comprises of the Zixi-enabled network and the Zixi factor. I'm going to pass this on to John Butterworth now to give us more information about XL8 and what they do. John, over to you.
All right, thank you very much, and thanks for inviting me to participate in this webinar. We are happy to be a partner with Zixi. It's a lot of fun. Let's go to the first slide. I thought that I would speak a little bit about the background of the company, where we come from, what we do. Really, today's kind of about the demo, so I'll race through these as much as I can. So basically, we have seen continued growth in the OTT market. During the pandemic, we kind of started commercial operations just a little bit before the pandemic, but we saw real growth in content. And let's just go to the next slide, please. We used to watch. I like this slide. We used to watch a lot of content that was made in the United States and kind of pumped out to the rest of the world. We saw a change. There were a lot of really great popular streaming programs that were created originally in other languages and consumed by people in the US. I certainly watched a lot of these. Let's go to the next slide. One of the issues that we run into, and remember, our platform is, we do live things. That's what I'll be showing you today. But we also do media and entertainment content for programs that are in the can, they're already finished. We recognize that we are not growing human translators at the speed that, we are launching channels in new territories and needing to, translate and adapt content for new markets. So, the translator supply is limited. Let's go to the next slide. So, yes, this is boring. Let's go to the next slide there. So we are a startup for media and localization. I'll speak a little bit more about our data, but imagine us as a machine translation company. We have our own engines. We have created them. Our founders were from Google and Apple. A bunch of people on the team are from different, movie studios. And I used to work at Disney a million years ago. And we are specializing in media and entertainment localization. So a lot of the translation platforms out there that I hope people are familiar with are getting their content that they use to train their engines from a lot of different places, a lot of different sources. Our content comes from professionally translated media and entertainment scripts. Next slide, please. So this is kind of a little view of where we play, right? So on the left at the bottom, there's media localization, transcription. So imagine we are working in a space where we are, TV shows, movies, scripts, things like that. We're doing that piece. We also work with fast channels and companies that provide educational content. So you give us content, we give you translated, dubbed, subtitled, all kind of versions back. And then finally, kind of in the broadcast and live event space, which I'll be talking about today. Next, please. So we have two products that we offer. So think about, like I said, the live side and the what I used to call the VOD side, but basically, standalone content. Our MediaCat platform, we do hundreds of thousands of minutes a week with our customers, so that we use our AI machine translation engines. We take a ton of different sources, a bunch of different outputs, all kinds of subtitle file types. We offer speech to text, synchronization of existing subtitle files or dubbing scripts, whatever we've got, with media asset. We offer an inline editor. That's a big business for us. I'm going to put all that to the side, and today we're just talking about EventCat. So that's live subs, which I'm going to show you today, which is just streaming through Zixi, and then we give you translated subtitles, kind of in a return stream. And we also have a Zoom app. I wanted to use the Zoom app today, but I wasn't ready for the webinar functionality. So if you're interested in Zoom apps and translation, we have a free app. You can download it and use it with the, kind of your existing 40-minute Zoom setup like we all used to use back in the day. So we do broadcast, which I'll show you. We also do live events. I'll talk a little bit about that, but imagine things that have a defined start and stop time. That's what we call live events. Next slide, please. So in EventCat, right, so our live platform, on the left, we've got, live subtitling for broadcast and event streaming. And on the right, we also have, kind of a more real-time solution that, the back end kind of powers our Zoom app. But we also offer speech to text in a kind of a conference view, as well as speech to speech. So, I could do a demo someday for you, and you hear me speaking in a different voice. So today we're just going to be talking about the live subtitle streaming. Next slide, please. This is a little bit of how it works. So we will take a Zixi stream, but we also can do HLS and RTMP. But we're going to deliver a subtitled stream. We use the Zixi protocol. We're all integrated. And basically, we're just going to, I'll show you how we just take a feed if it's in a broadcaster and pump it back out. But we're supporting about 24 languages. So if you think about our machine translation engines, we've got about 77 language pairs that are, 77 languages that are ours. You can go back and forth between them. We also offer thousands of translation pairings based on what our customers want. So these 24 are the 24 that we have today. What I'm going to show you is really about how we have just, we kind of set up a lightweight demo for this instance. As we work with customers, we look at, what are your language pair needs? What are your subtitle requirements? We're flexible and have a lot of ability to customize. That's really the important part of this slide. It talks a little bit in this slide about context awareness. I wanted to touch on that. Context awareness is the idea that we are looking at sentences before and after the one that we're translating. It helps us get a better translation by kind of getting the context of the conversation, things like personal pronouns, that kind of stuff. So we have a delay in this feed that I'm going to show you. It's about 30 seconds. People ask about, delays, and that's what I'm going to do, what I'm going to talk about. But 30 seconds, so we're actually doing a few sentences so we can get the context. We're doing speech to text, and then we're translating that text and giving it back in a very easy reading speed. The screen on the right, I'll show you that, but that's basically how we enter it in, right? You've got a URL that comes from your broadcaster, and then source and target language. That'll be pretty easy to explain. Let's go to the next slide. Why XL8 talks a little bit about our data. Other companies, like I said, they scrape it from the internet. They get kind of a written style. You get what you get when you just scrape the internet, and they spend a lot of time trying to, dig through the data to find good stuff. Our data for our engines is perfectly curated by linguists. So think about people editing and post-editing subtitles. Let's go to the next slide. So yeah, they are working on overcoming bad data. Our data is, kind of golden source, so it's wonderful. We also offer personalized translations. We've got glossaries, We've got the ability to take in customer data if they have translations they want to use. And we can do an overlay and say, whenever we translate, we're using your stuff first. So give your, kind of a nice view on your own translation. Next slide, please. Okay, cool. Let me, I'll share my screen and
as we transition to the demo, a reminder to put any questions into the Q&A tab at the bottom, where we've got some that are coming in, but please ask any questions that you've seen about the slides or the demo that John is about to conduct.
yeah, and John, if anybody puts a question or something in and you need me to stop, just read it out to me and I'll go back and answer it.
Sure.
Great. So let me share my screen. I'm sure it'll share the one I don't want first. Of course it will. Yeah. All right. Shrink everything down. Okay, so this is just a view of our overall platform. Like I said, we do speech to text, we translate, and we create synthetic voice. So this is our user interface. We've got a lot of views. Everything we do is API enabled. So I'm really not going to touch on any of that, but if you have any questions, we can discuss it. So today we're going to be talking about live subs. So we can take sources from a variety of different places. And like I mentioned, we're going to be dealing with Zixi today. So I've got a URL from my Zixi broadcaster. Here, let me go to the broadcaster and just show you what I'm talking about. So I've got a little clip spinning in the cloud, basically just a YouTube clip of an NBC news program that I've got. So it's just running like it's a feed. I've got a location that I'm going to push it to. And then I'm going to show you kind of an adaptive output because it's easy to view here. So basically I have my little clip, there's my URL, and then I pick an output here, my source language. So imagine people all over the world can use this. We can do all kinds of sources. We can do, I'll just pretend it's English. And then I can do a lot of language outputs. And again, these languages are based on customer requirements. So we have a lot of language pairs we can do that just, we add them as people need them. Well, I'll say this one. And then we can set our amount of time. So if we're doing an event, like, someone's given us an HLS feed and we want it to go for a few hours because it's, kind of a web-based streaming thing for fans of a Korean boy band, for example, we can do that. We can also have it go for all day, every day for years. It's just up to you. So I have one here that I'm running now. So basically this is my my Zixi link. It's in English. I'm going to be making Latin Spanish on the outside. And here's the adaptive output that I've got going. I've got it running already. Let me.
Over 72 hours without food and without water.
We hope if anybody is alive, they find him. All right, Ed Augustin for us. Still ahead tonight, the growing controversy surrounding the...
So this is just a clip. And I put the subtitles way up here in a crazy location because, just off the shelf, the subtitles are usually at the bottom. This particular clip has a ton of, it's new. So it's got a bunch of lower thirds. So people always ask me, can you move the subtitles? Can we do something different? And the answer is yes, you can do kind of whatever you want. If you've got special text requirements, color, size, location, placing, if you want to get subtitles back independently of the picture to, work within your infrastructure, we can do all that kind of stuff. This is really just, I picked like the worst place that I could put them right over Tom's face here, but that's, kind of to prove a point. So this is English to Spanish, our English to Spanish accuracy as reported by other, kind of independent testers. We have kind of our own unique way that we test our content. It's about 96% accurate. It gets harder and harder as you go towards 100%. Different language pairs have different accuracy. And, like I said, we can include glossaries and all those kind of things. So if you imagine a sporting event, you've got a player roster, players have names that come from all different parts of the world. We can incorporate things like that to capture unique things that happen in your stream. Like I said, this is 30 seconds behind live. So if, and maybe I could show you the English version. Bear with me here. I made another stream that's English. That's what this one is. Nope, can't do that. Zixi webinar, wasn't that it? All right, I'll just go back to that one.
Birthday party for her son. Decisions that Color says she regrets, telling the AP, I look back.
Yeah, so what I was trying to show you is we generate these subtitles in a really nice, easy to read speed. That's part of what we're doing in that kind of that delay. We have real-time options as well, where we're 2 to 4 seconds behind live. It just kind of depends on what your requirements are for your programming. I personally like the speed that these come up in. So I think that might be the end of my demo. I could show you a million things, but this is probably good enough. What do you think, Harjinder? Are we all right?
If there's
Certainly.
anything else you want to show, we've got a little bit of time, or we can jump into questions. We do have a few.
There's a lot that I could show. I just think I can, I can spin up a bunch of different channels. It's just, they would be different language pairs and would take a minute. When I start a new stream, it takes about 2 or 3 minutes to start. So that might be kind of a drag. I guess we could go into questions if you guys like. That's fine with me. I know we're a little short, but that's kind of what I have to show.
Sure. So we've got a couple of questions that are based on latency. The first is, you said you have a delay of about 30 seconds. Does that need to be added to the delay of the live stream, or would that be included?
That would be from the point that we pick it up, we are about 30 seconds behind that stream. So I guess every broadcast flow has their own thing. What is the live feed? Is it what's happening on terrestrial television, and you're streaming a different view, that kind of thing. I don't want to confuse that, but I would say for that particular question, if you have a live stream and you send it through Zixi, from the moment we pick it up and return the stream back to be distributed, that's an additional 30 seconds.
All right. There are a couple of questions that are specific to the Zixi integration. The first is the Zixi integration native to XL8 system, or does it require an additional application to install?
There's no requirement to install any applications. If you let me share. Well, you've got it. Yeah. So in that screen that I showed, basically where I entered in the Zixi feed and things like that, that's just in our user interface. So all you need to do is be a customer of ours, a customer of Zixi, and you enter in your information, and so we will just process that. So this happens inside the Zixi ecosystem. And there's no need to install anything, and we can do this through a UI. We can do this through API integration. So if you've got your own systems that you work with, and that's how you want to start and stop feeds, that's all possible.
Okay. Next is, do you support automatic language detection?
Not at this time for live. So if you imagine our kind of overall ecosystem, when someone gives us, a file to translate or things like that, we will pick up, hey, I think this is United States English. I don't really think this is, Great Britain English or UK English, whatever you call it, or this is Brazilian Portuguese versus European Portuguese. We can detect some of those things. We just haven't added language detection in this particular model because just kind of the resources required to switch back and forth. So, I've seen some channels in Europe where they're interviewing people, and maybe the host is German, and they're talking to somebody on the street that happens to be Dutch, and they're kind of speaking different languages back and forth. That's something that we could address if that's a big concern. But right now, we've kind of found that mostly we just kind of have the one language that the people are picking for a channel.
All right. We've got a couple of similar questions about what are some of the applications that XL8 can serve, live streaming broadcasts of sports. Have you done any work with sports broadcasters, news, reality TV, etc.? What's the experience been like so far?
Yes, so we have done work with a lot of different companies and a lot of different genres, and I think the key for sports, and people that are sports broadcasters would agree, it is all about player rosters and player names and getting them accurate as they go, right? So imagine a big sporting event and you've got announcers talking about this player. They're using his first and last name, they're using his last name, they're talking about specific terms for that sport. I mean, like I guess I would imagine cricket has a bunch of terms that I don't know off the top of my head. But if we can get rosters either programmatically from a system inside a broadcaster that's used to kind of create promo material, kind of give metadata, those kind of things, we can extract terms and put them in a glossary so that we'll get a Norwegian football player's name spelled correctly with a slash through the O, like it should be. For things like reality shows, dramatic series, old movies, things like that, really the secret for us is being able to hear the audio clearly. So imagine that we're talking about speech to speech, we're talking about then generating, speech to text, then translating that text. So we need to be able to hear the speech clearly. So this news clip that I showed, Tom is a single speaker, talking head kind of thing, works great. If we were subtitling a war movie and there's nothing but crashing planes and exploding bombs and you can't hear people screaming, the system is going to struggle a little bit in that area until you get to the more dramatic talking. So it's all about where your how good the quality of your source audio is. The other thing I would bring up is around our capability to do certain things with our engines. So imagine that you are a broadcaster and you're in a region, using some language, and you've got specific terms, you've got a certain kind of formality that you want to have, and you have requirements for some unique things with your broadcast, with your language. We can take sentence pairs in and create, like I mentioned, kind of overlay models. We can update our engines based on just source and target sentence pairs that you can give us. If you can give us hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of sentence pairs, that's how we train our engines. So we can also include rules about text. We can address all kinds of things around words and language and formalities and different genres. If I was showing you the overall platform that we have, imagine like Korean has a handful of different formalities based on who's speaking to who. There's informal and formal in a lot of kind of Western European languages, and then we can also address genre. So if you run a file through our system, you can talk about this is reality, this is sports, this is adventure, crime, those kind of things, because that's how we train our data to do those kind of models. So Customization is a big part of this engagement with Zixi and Zixi's customers. So our expectation is that people would say, all right, this is what I'm doing. This is what I need special. And we would have a discussion about that and how we can give you the best results.
Fantastic. Okay. We've got a few more questions. A couple of people have asked, can you deploy on-prem as well, or only in the cloud?
This is a cloud-based application. So this is just cloud. We have translation and other kind of things that we can do on-prem if required. But for live subs, what we're offering today is cloud-based, and it works great with the Zixi infrastructure. So I think that's actually the best solution for this. Yeah.
A more technical question, at least from my standpoint. In what format are the translated subtitles passed on in the stream?
I think in the example that I showed, there's 608, 708. We can do all kinds of different types. And so it's really, we put obviously a demo together for this using the Zixi protocol. We can support all kinds of subtitle types. We can also support multiple subtitle languages depending on how it's going out and what your requirements are. So there's plenty of customization options. So I mean, I think it would depend on a customer's requirements, where they're streaming this back out, what kind of platform, what kind of subtitles. So yeah, web VTT or any of those others could be available.
All right. We are down to one last question. So if anybody else has one, please put it into the Q&A tab before I ask John this seemingly last question. If we are interested in testing or demoing the XL8 platform, how do we do that?
Sure. So our platform, it's easy to sign up. You just go to our website and you can sign up for a new account. We would enable this module that we call Live Subs. And I think what we typically do is give people a certain amount of time to test it. I mean, there are resources that run in the background, but do it for a week, do it for a couple of weeks, and run it. Let us know what your requirements are, those kind of things. But it really is as easy as I showed you, right? So you've got something running in your broadcaster. We just need an in and an out, and there we go. And if you wanted multiple language streams, you can run them. The thing I wanted to show was I had English to English running, I had English to Spanish, but like you saw, I could pick any source language to any of the target languages and run a bunch of those. So I guess it would depend on a customer's infrastructure and, would they like to have a single stream with multiple choices, or do they want multiple streams because they're going into different areas? All those things are on the table, but really, you just sign up with us, enter in your Zixi stream details, and then you're off to the races.
Okay, we are not out of questions yet. We've got one more. What is the latency that may be added, if any?
So like I meant, and the reason I pause is because, I'm kind of an old TV guy. So the latency that might be added is about 30 seconds behind when we receive the stream. So I guess it depends on your broadcast flow. Is this a live event from a stadium and you've got a truck on site or some kind of studio on site, and then it's going to satellite delivery or some other kind of terrestrial delivery or things like that, and then you could give us a separate stream that's a little different timing wise. But from the point that we receive it, so when it kind of comes out of the Zixi broadcaster to us, It's about 30 seconds. So like I said, we are adding context awareness. So that's you know, a few sentences before and after what we're translating. It helps us get our translation quality better. It's things like you know, the sentence pair that I like to use is I like this flower, put it in the bag. We know that it relates to flower, so we know that in French, you know, it is feminine. So that's what we're taking a little time to do. Also, the translation is fast, but we are purposely giving the subtitles back in a you know, what I would call kind of a conformed view, right? So we've got a real-time API that we can use, and it changes as you talk. So as I'm a run-on talker, and you know, as I say a sentence and it never ends, the computer's always going back and forth and changing to what it thinks I'm saying. But in a real professional kind of delivery like this, we are making all of those decisions and then displaying it back without that change, right? So everybody's seen, you know, like the local news, and they say something wrong, and you can tell that the system is going back and making a change to that line before it disappears from the screen. We can do that too. It just looks better when it's all conformed inside the application like this. So hopefully that answers that question.
I think that it does. It looks like no, we're still getting some questions here. Are you delaying the video based on the processing delay to keep the captions as close as possible to audio time?
I think there's a lot of things that happen in the background. Like I said, we don't have to, you know, necessarily implement a delay. We can be, you know, 2 to 4 seconds behind real time if we want. It's just that those subtitles will change. We don't have as much of a buffer to get sentences before and after. So, you know, maybe the translation is not quite as good as it would be if, you know, if we get a little more time. The processing power required to do the speech to text and translated text is something that we've got a handle on. We do, you know, like I said, we do hundreds of thousands of minutes a week. That's not a big concern. I think it's more that we have chosen this timing to give us buffers to do better translation and give kind of a really nice experience. For us, there's not really an issue in timing. You know, we're not 30 seconds behind the person speaking on screen. It's just that the stream itself is, you know, about 30 seconds behind what we have. So yeah, I mean, it's we're doing it purposely. If you have an application and you would like to be a lot closer to real time, that's an option too. I mean, the whole thing about working with Zixi and all this is the flexibility, right? What are you doing? What do you need? How do we work together to make it happen? So we've got a lot of options. EventCat, our platform, does, you know, the buffered view, so it's 30 seconds behind live. We also do you know, speech to text and translated you know, subtitles in essentially real time. We also could make it longer or make it shorter. I mean, it's a thing that we control. So those are decisions that we would work out together.
All right. Thank you, John. That looks like it is the end of the questions and almost right on time. So I'd like to thank you for joining us today, the comprehensive overview of XL8 and the demo, and answering all of the questions in detail. We will be sending out this recording to all of the attendees. And then if anybody has any questions for XL8 or Zixi, you'll be able to respond to us directly. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining us and spending some time with us this morning. And we look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.